All right, this is Home of Tech. And last week, yeah, I think it was last week, I did a top 5 worst Tekken games. Now it's going to be a top 5 best because it's 10 main games in the series, so we're going to do a yin and a yang here. Now, I think the top 5 best will be pretty agreeable in the eyes of most, especially if you grew up in the 90s, early 2000s to play these games, to see how great they really were. Because a lot of people that didn't play the older games that much will probably be like, the newer games are better, and then the older games suck because they don't have as much, and the graphics are not as good. See, I'm not judging games by age. I'm judging games by your experience with those games. Because as I said before, bad graphics doesn't necessarily mean the game sucks. Doesn't equal a bad game. And good graphics doesn't necessarily equal a good game. Let's look at, say, Tekken Tag 2. I think Tekken Tag 2 was worse than Tekken 7. I think it was worse than Tekken 6. I think it was worse than Tekken 7. I almost think that Tekken Tag 2 was worse than Tekken 1, to be quite honest with you. And this is supposed to be an all-star tag, and they put out this crap. So it almost killed the series. So, and it has good graphics. Let's not even talk about Dark Resurrection. I mean, not Dark Resurrection. Tekken Revolution, the game that came out after Tag 2, was basically like a Tag 2 1-on-1, and that game looked fucking awesome graphically. It was quite a step up from Tag 2. But you know, that game it was so bad they took it off the market. So we can't, graphics in a game being new is not everything. So anyhow, let's get started with this list. Alright, number 5 on this list will be Tekken Tag 1. Now, even though this made it to the top 5 best, and this is one of the best Tekken games, despite what I'm about to say about it, because I got some good news and some bad news. The good news, this game has remarkable graphics. I mean, this is the best looking early PS2 game you will ever see. Ever. Just like, you know how a lot of early PS2 games just look weird? This game looks better than, like, this game looks, well, you know, far ahead of its time. But then I also got to talk about the bad, because there is some bad to be had with this game. The bad is I'm about to discuss basically 2 different fucking games. And one version kind of being better than the other, despite graphics. Remember, if you grew up like I did in the late 90s, early 2000s as a kid, you went to the arcades and you played the arcade version of Tekken Tag. And the music is just like, it's edgy. It's like an edgier version of Tekken 3. And then you play the console version and it's not. It's like a softer, prettier version of Tekken 3. I mean, let's just play some of these. Let's just play a couple of these tracks for a minute. Here goes the arcade version of Gen Stage. You remember those days? You went to the arcade and this is what you were hearing. Now, the console version. Arcade version. console version.
No light, no ear, no noise, no him, no Addy, no light, no shake, no shake, no light, no ear, no noise, no him, no Addy, no light, no shake.
Arcade version. Console version. Okay, one sounds edgy. One sounds like an edgier version of Tekken 3. You know, the music got you into the game. It felt like you were really like at like an edgy, like a fighting tournament. And one sounds, music is good, but it's more smooth. It's nicer, which is great. But that's not what you asked for. When you played this game in the arcade, you got that edgier version of Tekken 3. You got that edgy music. You got that got you, and that made the game, that made you want to play the game. Those Tekken 3-ish graphics, you know, it looked even better on Tekken Tag. They revamped the Tekken 3 stages a little bit and made it look edgy. And then you play the console version, and it's some of the models look kind of washed out, the graphics, like Hihachi and whatnot. But I mean, it just doesn't look the same. It looks nice, but it's not what you asked for. I mean, you eventually you get a PS2. Mom and Dad get you a PS2 and Tekken Tag, and you realize that the game doesn't feel the same, it doesn't look the same, but you can't quite put your finger on why it's so different when you play it at home, because you're a kid. You don't know about different versions of a game yet. Like that. You don't know. I don't know, man. Like, I just prefer the arcade version. This game could have been higher on the list if we could have gotten like the arcade version instead of the console version. They also decided to take out. Now, Tekken Bowl was a good idea. This game has the best Tekken Bowl out of the 3 games, out of Dark Res and Tekken 7 especially. That was just horrible. But the gameplay itself is also a problem. Tekken Tag 1 has some of the worst gameplay. Like, the gameplay did not age well either. That's another issue I have with this game. It's very linear 3D, even more so than Tekken 3. Like, the gameplay, like the movement just feels really stiff. Like, sidestepping is just terrible in this game. That's another issue I have with Tekken Tag. The gameplay did not age well at all. And the lazy character endings were the character endings were Tekken 1-ish. I would still prefer it than the Disney Tekken Tag 2 endings overall, but I gotta say that the endings are pretty shit, and it's just the same music on every ending. Like, it's like Tekken 1. I feel as though this game was kind of rushed out into consoles, you know, onto the PS2, but still, this is one of the better Tekken games nonetheless. It's just that the other games on this list, this was overall better. Alright, number 4 on this list is Tekken 4. This game, you know, at first, I wasn't too crazy about this game. I remember getting this game when it came out. My father bought it for me. I was just starting high school. I was a freshman in high school, 2002. And it felt too different. I had Tekken Tag 1 fever at the time. I was still hooked on Tekken Tag 1. And this game was just too different. Still, a lot of people don't like this game. But in hindsight, like, playing this game like after a year in 2003 and on and so forth, this is definitely one of the best Tekken games, hands down, in my opinion. Um, the graphics, the ambience. This game is the number one game if we're talking about storytelling. Even better than Tekken 5. I would almost say that this game is potentially somewhat better than Tekken 5 in some ways because how realistic this game was and how great it did as far as storytelling. This game had a nice little plot twist at the end that no other Tekken game has when it comes to like the Mishimas. But now I think I should get into why this game is number 4 on this list instead of like number 2 or number 1. The problem with this game is that it was too ambitious. Like I said, and this the reason why I didn't like it at first. I wasn't too crazy about this game at first. It was a little bit too realistic for its time, too ambitious. Like it's too different from the previous games. That was kind of an issue, and it still is an issue to this day. I mean, that's really the only bad thing I can really say about it. Yeah, it had a small roster, but what it did with the roster is a masterpiece. It gave everybody like a really good story. So it made, with the storytelling, it made every character interesting. But once again, it was too ambitious. The gameplay was a little bit iffy. Not as iffy as Tekken Tag 1, but getting there. Some moves felt like it didn't connect very well because the movement felt a little bit too realistic. The gameplay felt a little bit too realistic to where some shit could easily miss. You couldn't probably do combos correctly sometimes. But that's kind of a nitpick. But yeah, definitely a great game. The best number one on the list if we're talking about like storytelling. If we're going by storytelling, this game is number 1 on the list. But overall, I would still say that the 3 other games I have on this top 5 best list are better overall. Alright, number 3 on this list is Tekken 2. Now, if you listen to any other reviewer, or at least anybody else who reviews these Tekken games, they're going to say, oh, Tekken 2 is just a better version of Tekken 1. It just added some game modes and made the graphics better. Well, I'm here to debunk that myth. Tekken 2 is more than just a better version of Tekken 1 with a couple new characters. Okay, Tekken 2 is not a Tekken 1 DLC game. That's how, because they're just going by age, to be honest with you. But if you go by everything that this game has to offer, if you play Tekken 2 right now, if you turn on your PS2 and pop in Tekken 2, you're gonna notice that this game is very bright and colorful. You're gonna notice that the music is on par about, or at least almost as good as Tekken 3's music. This game has very good endings. Very good storytelling, by the way. That's another thing I might want to touch on also, of why this game is so high on this list. Because, see, I'm judging the game based off what it has to offer instead of just age. Now, of course, this game has age, so I can't put this as number 1 on the list, of course. I'm not that crazy. But I have to be honest. This is one of the most fun Tekken games I've played. Like, out of all the games on this list, Tekken 2 is up there. Tekken 2. First of all, this game has a very mature. It feels more mature. Like it has, like when you look at characters like Nina and Anna, look at their endings. A lot of endings on this game like are very fucking good. The boss, I mean, look at the boss, Kazuya. They will never get his purple pimp suit right, like they did in this game. I mean, just the way how this game presents itself, just how the graphics look, like for its time. And then even after beating Kazuya, who looks like a fucking boss, legit, with that purple suit. Then you fight him in his devil form. You're in a glass in this room where it's nothing but a mirror. I mean, which is, I always thought that was the coolest thing ever. I mean, this game has a great ending to it when Heihachi beat him. But I mean, this is just a fun ass game. And I mean like fun in a very mature, low-key mature way. Also, this game is very good when it comes to storytelling. Even though it's not like Tekken 4 to where they had the technology to be able to make the characters talk and tell more of a story. But, I mean, look at what we were given. You can tell by the character endings in this game how well they were able to tell the story. I mean, look how emotional Nina's ending was, for example. Of going to the grave, you know, sending flowers, and then Anna walks up to put the flowers to honor their father as well. And Nina points out a gun with a tear coming down her, you know, crying. It's like, look at how detailed these endings are. I mean, this is very, Tekken 2 is vintage Tekken. Okay, this is vintage Tekken. This is what a Tekken game should, this is what a classic Tekken game looks like. I had more fun, honestly, I've had more fun playing Tekken 2 than I've had playing, especially when it came to choreography, me playing with two controllers. I've had more fun with Tekken 2 than I have had with Tekken Tag and Tekken 4. To be honest with you, just to be real, I mean, just the endings tell a story alone without needing the technology that the newer games had. And on top of the fact that this game has some of the best character designs too. Not Tekken 3 good, but I mean, I would easily probably second place. I thought the models in Tekken 4 looked a little bit weird to me. And also Tekken Tag, the models look kind of washed out, some of them. Most of them look really good, but some look washed out. Whereas like Tekken 2, a game can look fun. A game can be good just by the fact that it looks fun. See, how a game looks actually matters. And when you play Tekken 2, Tekken 2 is just a game that's more fun than it seems. If you're going by it just because it's old, yeah, that might make you not want to play it. But if you actually turn on Tekken 2 right now and actually play it, yeah, you're going to be playing it for a minute. Because the game, it looks fun. Alright, number 2 on this list would be Tekken 5. Now, if you know what number 2 is, you know what number 1 is. There are 2 games in this series that are considered the best Tekken games, hands down. Okay, age does not even matter, because some of these old Tekken games are timeless. This game has one of the best intros ever. A roster of 30 characters for the first time outside of Tekken Tag 1. We get an actual canon game with 30 characters. It's hard to top that. They went back to the old formula that actually worked. No more of that ambitious Tekken 4, too realistic nonsense. We're getting Vengeance Tekken again, just like we got in Tekken 2 and Tekken 3. I mean, look at this intro. And then we get this like Smack 2005-ish SmackDown kind of intro thing. I mean, honestly, I would say like this game, this intro is this is probably low-key the best intro out of all the games. At first, this is another game that I also wasn't that crazy about when I first got this game back in 2005. I don't know. I kind of felt like, oh, this is going back to the old formula. It's not really better. I don't know. I don't know why I was thinking that. I think when I first played this game, it just felt like Tekken 4 was going down a realistic route, and I was getting used to Tekken 4. And then this game kind of at first felt like they were going backwards with the graphics, but actually no, they weren't. They were going forward with the graphics. They just went back to the old style while making the graphics better. I didn't like how the character models were smaller at first, but now looking back, yeah, the character models actually need to be smaller. Another issue with Tekken 4 was the character models were getting too big to where they were taking up too much of the screen. So, and that's kind of a problem because you can't see you can't see the background as well when the character models are too big on the screen. And Tekken 5 fixed that issue. At first, like I would put my screen on 16.9 because I felt like the screen was just too small. But you know, once again, that was me at 17 years old. Looking back in hindsight, this game, when you add the roster, let's talk about the boss. Oh, hell, let's talk about the sub boss. We finally get a proper introduction into Devil Jin. We got it in Tekken 3, but he's actually a playable character, and Devil Jin is just dope as fuck. Devil Jin, that's a boss. Okay, that's a boss right there. That made Jin more interesting. The Jin doesn't have much personality. He kind of was nerfed in this game as well. But then you get Devil Jin. Yeah. Some people don't like. Some nitpicky, crybaby nostalgics will be like, oh, why would he go back to the old machine style karate, whatever. I don't care. Devil Jin is dope in this game. Then you get Gene Pachi. Like, he might feel powerful just to be powerful, you know, but he's also a great boss, I would say. A little OP, but he was OP in a he wasn't like Azazel OP. He was like he was OP in a necessary way. Oh, another thing I love about this game is how smash mouth it is. Like, it's very hard hitting. It feels like an ECW-ish version of Tekken 3, kind of. This game was the closest thing that you'll get to Tekken 3, I would say. Speaking of Tekken 3, number 1 on this list, Tekken 3. Now, it's no surprise that Tekken 3 made it to number 1 on the list. It's no surprise that this is my favorite game. This is the favorites of many. Some say Tekken 5, but a lot of people are also saying Tekken 3. But why am I putting Tekken 3 as number 1? Oh boy. I mean, The intros are already. Just look at this intro. Easily the best intro. First of all, easily the best looking intro out of any other game. Let's start there. Intro, check. Music, check. Timeless character design, check. Game modes, check. I mean, Tekken 5 tried to be this game so bad it ain't funny. And I would say Tekken 5 is the closest thing that we've ever gotten to Tekken 3. I could go on and on about this game. This game has. This was the first ever DLC game that added content. Like, originally Anna wasn't going to be in there. Dr. B and Gondor is extra content, of course. But I mean, the music. I don't know where to start. The music, the best music out of any other game, the best endings out of any, the best character designs. Look at Yoshimitsu, for example. Everybody would agree that Yoshimitsu had the best character design, but in Tekken 3. But why stop there? Paul Phoenix. Can we talk about Paul Phoenix for a minute? Paul Phoenix, Tekken 3 has the best looking Paul Phoenix ever, with the dark facial hair. I mean, the characters low key look more realistic in Tekken 3 than any other game. Yes, the character models look better in Tekken 3 than Tekken 4 and Tekken Tag. All of them. And then Tekken 5 is when the character models started looking funny. Another reason why this game is number one on this list. This game did everything right. Everything. Models, best character models, best music. Probably even the best boss. I mean, the Ogre, the true Ogre. I don't know if I would say that's the best, but I mean, everything else is it's the best. Yeah, like it's just the best. This is Tekken 3 is the attitude era of Tekken. It's Tekken at its prime. Tekken Tag came out on the cutting edge PS2 console, and it felt watered down with the bougie graphics. It didn't feel like the same Tekken Tag that we got in the arcades. That's why when I started choreographing for Tekken Tag 1, I had a big chip on my shoulder. Like, I made the matches look as entertaining as possible because I wanted to feel like what you got in the arcade. I remember when you first get a game, you're all over it. I was so happy to get Tekken Tag finally. Because I was telling myself that I was getting the same thing that I got in the arcade. And I remember getting bored with Tekken Tag. Well, not bored with it, but I would go back to Tekken 3. Because, like, I remember back in 03. And this is after I had Tekken Tag and Tekken 4 at the time. I would just go back to Tekken 3 because Tekken 3 was just more fun. I don't know what to say. Also, Tekken 3 has the best character endings, even better than Tekken 4, I would say. Especially if we're talking about Eddie Gordo. Eddie Gordo's ending in Tekken 3 is the best character ending in every Tekken game, easily, hands down. That is like straight out of a 90s black movie. What else can I say about this? Something else I was gonna say. The best game modes. Tekken Force, especially like the back streets, was just that's the best looking beat 'em up. It looks like the best looking beat 'em up game you will ever see. Also, what else? Something else. Tekken Ball. People have been wishing that Tekken Ball came back because Tekken Ball was such a fun mode. Yeah. Also, another thing that makes this game great is the lore of it. This game actually paid attention to the previous games more than every other fucking game. Like, let's be real. Tekken 3 low-key has the best storytelling. I mean, it's still, Tekken 4 is still better, of course, because of technology advancement, but look at the things that Tekken 3 did. It started a whole new generation of Tekken, really. It did a big time leap, 18 years past Tekken 2, but it actually paid homage to the old characters while replacing them at the same time. Let's look at Julia's ending. You get to see 40-year-old Michelle. The only character you really don't see is Beck. Really. You see Armor King. Of course, the old King died, but you see Armor King and King's ending. You're seeing what's going on. You're seeing these characters in current time that are not in Tekken 3. That's another thing that I love about this game. You see Martial Law, a 46-year-old Martial Law. He got the beard. He got a beard now. He looks older. Of course, you see him in the intro as well, the Tekken 3 intro. That's another thing. This game does everything right. Everything. Music right. Game modes right. Character design right. Tekken Tag kind of had washed out models. Tekken 4's models look kind of weird. It was kind of too ambitious as well. Tekken 5, the storytelling started to get goofy outside of the Mishimas. Then after Tekken 5, the game started to suck. Tekken 2 lacked in game modes. Almost as good as Tekken 3, but it lacked game modes. I think and Tekken 3 was overall just a little bit better at everything. So that's why, yes, this game is number one. If you play this game right now, you'll have a blast. There's nothing better than Tekken 3. Like I said, I remember owning Tekken Tag and being enjoying the fact that I had Tekken Tag 1 finally after 2 years of playing it in the arcade. And I just went back to Tekken 3, Tekken 4. Actually ended up loving Tekken 4. Went back to Tekken 3. Even after all these years, Tekken 3 was the first Tekken game that I've owned. It's actually Tekken 3 is the first game that I've owned hands down. And I will still say, despite how old it is, despite having it for like fucking almost 30 years by now, I've played this game ever since I was 10 years old. Now I'm 34, and still I would still sit up here and tell you that Tekken 3 is the best game, hands down. But guys, you let me know in the comments what you think is the best. What would be your top 5? And what would be your number 1? Because some of you might not pick Tekken 3 or Tekken 5 as your number 1 favorite. But all I know is, in my opinion, Tekken 3 is better than every Tekken game, hands down. Almost by a long shot. Tekken 3 just does everything perfect, everything great.